I had just landed a new job after months of searching, nothing glamorous, just a night shift security position at a large industrial facility on the outskirts of town. The building was old, massive, and eerily quiet after dark. On my first night, the air felt heavy, as if the place had memories it didn't want to share. I told myself it was just nerves. After getting through the brief paperwork and a quick tour, I was handed a uniform and a flashlight and told I'd be shadowing a more experienced employee for the first few nights. His name was Alexey. No last name, just Alexey. When I met him, I was immediately put at ease. He was calm, a bit quiet, but had a reassuring presence. His voice was deep and steady, and his eyes carried the kind of tiredness you only get after years of working night shifts. "You'll get used to the quiet," he said as we walked through the long corridors. "It's not so bad once you learn the rhythms of the place." I asked him how long he'd been working there. "Long enough," he replied with a half smile. "This place has its quirks, but it doesn't bite. Usually." I laughed awkwardly, unsure if he was joking. Throughout the shift, Alexey showed me the routines, the door checks, the security cams, the places that always made weird noises but were nothing to worry about. He knew every creak of the floorboards, every light that flickered for no reason. Around 3 a.m., he took me to the break room. "This is your safe spot. If you start feeling weird, tired, whatever, come here, sit down. Just don't fall asleep." He handed me a thermos of coffee. "Trust me, it helps." As the night went on, I started to relax. Alexey never pressured me, just gave helpful advice. He told me which halls echo too much, how to avoid setting off false alarms, and which monitors like to freeze for no reason. There was something old school about him. He didn't have a smartphone, just an old flip phone. Said he didn't like those tracking apps. He had a certain timelessness to him, like someone from another era. But I didn't think much of it at the time. By the end of the shift, I was exhausted, but strangely comfortable. Alexey gave me a nod. "Good work. You'll be fine here." And just like that, he was gone, disappearing down one of the side halls while I signed out with the supervisor. When I asked where he went, the supervisor just shrugged. "Alexey? Oh, he always disappears before the end of his shift. Don't take it personally." I left that morning thinking I was lucky to have someone like him help me on my first night. I had no idea that soon I'd be asking a very different question. Who was Alexey, really? The following nights were smoother. I began settling into the routine, and having Alexey around made the job feel easier, almost normal. We would start each shift with a short walk through the main corridors together, checking cameras, testing doors, making sure everything was in order. He seemed to know exactly where to be and when, as if the building spoke to him. He never rushed. He didn't complain. He just existed in that space like he belonged to it. One night around 2 a.m., we sat in the break room while I warmed up my sandwich. The vending machine hummed in the corner, and the coffee machine gurgled behind us. Alexey leaned back in his chair, sipping from his thermos. "So what made you take this job?" he asked without looking at me. I shrugged. "Just needed something steady, something quiet. Things have been chaotic lately." He nodded slowly. "Yeah, quiet can be good, but too much quiet, that's when you start hearing things." I gave a nervous chuckle. "Have you ever heard things here?" He looked at me, eyes unreadable. "This building has its moods. Some nights it talks, some nights it watches. But if you respect it, it'll leave you be." I wasn't sure if he was joking, but something in his tone felt serious. He continued sharing little tricks, which hallway lights buzz too loudly, which stairwell door never shuts properly, how to spot when the cameras glitch versus when someone's actually there. He even taught me how to get the coffee machine to actually make drinkable coffee. "You'll make it," he said one night. "Just don't let the place get into your head. That's when it gets weird." That line stuck with me. That's when it gets weird. It sounded like he spoke from experience. One night, I asked if he ever worked day shifts. He chuckled. "I don't really do daytime." "Why not?" He paused for a moment. "Too bright. Too noisy. And some of us just belong to the night." That gave me a chill I couldn't quite explain. Alexey never said much about his life. No mention of a family. No talk of hobbies. No stories that gave away his past. It was like he only existed here, within the concrete walls of this building. But despite the mystery, I felt safe with him around. He had a calming presence, like nothing could truly go wrong as long as he was nearby. That week, I began to trust him more than anyone else at the job. So when one night he didn't show up, I knew something was off immediately. That night started like any other. Same arrival time. Same cold air pressing against the concrete walls. Same flickering lights in the hallway near the service elevator. I signed in, grabbed my flashlight, and waited in the usual spot where Alexey always met me. But he never came. I checked the time. 5 minutes passed. Then 10. I walked the perimeter alone for the first time since I started. The silence felt different, thicker. The shadows in the corners seemed to stretch further than usual. Every sound echoed just a bit too long. I told myself maybe he called in sick. Maybe something came up. By the time I got back to the security office, I was already reaching for my phone to text him. When I stopped, I didn't have his number. I realized I had no way of contacting him at all. I asked the supervisor, a guy named Vadim, if he'd heard from Alexey. His response made me freeze. Alexey? Who? I blinked. The night shift guy. The one who trained me. He's worked here for years, right? Vadim frowned and gave me a puzzled look. You mean Dmitri? He's the only one who's done night shifts the past couple months before you started. I shook my head. No. Alexey. Tall, dark hair, quiet. He drinks coffee from a thermos. Talks like a philosopher. That guy. Vadim's face went pale for a moment. That sounds like a guy who used to work here. But he died. A year ago. I laughed nervously. Come on. I've been working with him every night this week. He showed me everything. Vadim slowly sat down. Alexey was a long-time employee. Trained a lot of new people. He died during a shift. Heart attack, they think. It happened on site. He was found in the break room, holding his thermos. My mouth went dry. He helped me, I said quietly. He still helped me. Vadim didn't respond. Just looked at me with something between concern and disbelief. That night, I walked the halls alone. But I couldn't shake the feeling I was being watched. At one point, as I passed the break room, I saw the coffee machine light up all by itself and start gurgling as if someone had pressed it. No one was inside. The machine poured a cup of black coffee and then stopped. I stared at it for a long moment, then slowly walked in. Sitting on the table was a thermos. Alexey's thermos. My breath caught. I reached out to touch it, but the second my fingers brushed the metal, the light above me flickered violently, then burst. The room went dark. I ran out and didn't return until the end of my shift. The next morning, I drove home in silence, heart pounding, trying to convince myself I had imagined everything. But I knew better. Alexey was still here. Somehow. The next few nights were unbearable. I kept hoping Alexey would show up again, that he'd appear like nothing happened, make a joke, pour a cup of coffee from his thermos, and we'd laugh at how paranoid I'd become. But the chair beside me remained empty. I tried to focus on my duties, checking cameras, patrolling corridors, logging entries, but every small sound made me jump. I couldn't shake the feeling that I wasn't alone, that Alexey still walked these halls, just out of sight. And sometimes, I was sure I heard footsteps behind me. On the fourth night, I did something I wasn't supposed to do. I accessed the archived footage from the previous week, the nights Alexey and I had worked together. I scrolled back to one of the nights I clearly remembered us patrolling side by side. Only he wasn't there. I watched myself on the screen, walking alone, talking out loud to no one. The system logs showed only one active ID badge scanned in that night. Mine. My stomach twisted. I knew I wasn't crazy. I remembered him. Desperate for clarity, I searched the storage room where old employee records were kept. I found a dusty binder labeled Security, Previous Staff. Flipping through the pages, I found him. Alexey Myrov. Photo and all. Start date, 2014. Date of death, September 18, 2022. Cause, cardiac arrest, inside break room. Time of death, 2:12 a.m. I stared at the photo for a long time. Same eyes, same face, same calm presence. But the thing that chilled me most wasn't the photo or even the death certificate. It was the note written at the bottom in a different pen. Still watching. I didn't sleep that day. That night, I came in early and went straight to the break room. The thermos was gone, but in its place sat a napkin, folded neatly. A single sentence written in red ink. You shouldn't have looked. I almost didn't come back after finding that napkin. Everything inside me screamed to quit, to walk away and never return to that building again. But something stronger, curiosity, maybe obsession, pulled. That night, I arrived just before midnight. The air felt colder than usual, heavy with a silence that didn't feel empty, but expectant. I took a deep breath, turned on my flashlight, and began the patrol. Halfway through the second floor, all the lights cut out at once. Total darkness. Only the beam of my flashlight lit the hall in front of me. I stood frozen, listening, and then I heard it. Footsteps. Behind me. Slow. Measured. Deliberate. I turned fast. Nothing. I called out, "Alexey?" No answer. I backed into the stairwell and headed toward the security office. But when I reached it, the door was slightly ajar, and the monitor screens were all off. Except one. The middle screen showed the live feed from the break room. Someone was sitting at the table. Back turned. Shoulders slumped. A thermos in front of them. I stared, heart pounding. Then the figure slowly raised its head toward the camera, not turning around. And I saw its face reflected in the shiny surface of the thermos. It was me. I blinked, stepped back. The screen flickered, and the image vanished. I raced to the break room, heart pounding like a war drum. When I got there, it was empty. No one. No thermos. Just flickering overhead lights and silence. But when I turned to leave, the door slammed shut behind me. Locked. I banged on it, twisted the handle. Nothing. The air turned icy. My breath came out in fog. Then, from behind me, a voice whispered, "You took my place." I turned, but no one was there. The walls around me began to hum, and my vision blurred. I dropped to my knees, gasping for air, heart racing. And then everything went black. I woke up in the hospital. Apparently, a cleaner had found me unconscious the next morning. They said I had suffered a sudden cardiac episode. My heart had stopped for nearly a minute. Clinically dead, but revived. The doctor said I was lucky. I wasn't sure I agreed. Because ever since that night, strange things have followed me. Lights flickering when I walk into a room. My name whispered in empty hallways. My reflection, at times, not moving in sync. And sometimes, in the mirror, I see someone standing behind me. A man with dark hair, calm eyes, holding a thermos. Want to hear more stories like this? Subscribe to the channel, because some things are better experienced together, and some never leave you alone.